In the previous section, we have looked at how exactly we can create our first LWC component. We have also seen how do we expose this LWC component, and we have seen how to add this LWC component that we have created to a record page, and we have seen the output of it. In this section, what we'll do is we'll just try to add few more things to this component. If you see here, the milestone component that I have has a icon here. It has some heading and it has some body here. It has some content inside here and a footer that is added at the bottom. Now this is how it looks like. But my component doesn't have anything. It just says this is my first LWC component. How do I display the same information in this format? What do I need to do so that this component that I've created can have similar look and feel? In case if you are wondering how do I do that, you do not have to worry that much. That is where we can leverage the power of base components that are provided by Salesforce. Now, what are these base components and how do they help us in building our LWC components? In order to explain that point, I'll quickly switch to the Salesforce component library. In case if you are wondering how did I land up on this page, simply search for component library on Google. Component library LWC, and that is where you can access the same documentation that I'm looking at. Do not worry, I'll be sharing these links in the video so that way you can keep them handy. Now, if you see here under the component reference, we have a couple of components that are given to us. One thing that I wanted to draw your attention to is we have two sections. One for the Lightning Web component, another section is for your Aura. There's a differentiation between these two things. Make sure that you're looking at the Lightning Web component to get your base component, and make sure that you are not copying something from your Aura in case if you're building your LWC component. Now, what is that I want? I want the similar look and feel that I have seen on the milestone. So these are all the components that we have in which we can make use of it. So these are all the base components that are given by Salesforce. Now I'm looking for that particular component that matches with my milestone look and feel. There is a filter that we can apply here so that way we can look at the right components. So I've added one filter on the programming models where I've selected it as LWC here. Either you can look for the components here or you can simply search that here. Since I do not know what is this component called, how do I access this particular look and feel from the base component? I'm simply searching for that here. If I scroll down here to see if there's anything that is matching with that design, I found out one which says lightning cart. What I do, I click on that one. So if you see here, it has the heading, it has the body that I can show, it has the footer. Is it matching with the milestone that I have? Only thing that is missing is this icon that I have. How do I get that? If I go to the component library, the beauty of this component library is it would also give you a preview on the examples that we have. This is the preview of the component that we have selected here. If I look for the other components, that is where we can see if there is any matching component that we have. If you see here, there is one component that I found where it has an icon. It has the same heading. It has the same body and a footer. I'm happy with this component, but the question is, how do I get this component into my LWC component? So we are happy with identifying the component that we wanted to build, but where do I get the code? Again, do not worry, your component reference library comes into the rescue where it would give you the code that you need to copy. In order for us to generate this LWC component, all I need to copy this code. Since we know that template is something that would be the default code that needs to be there for our LWC component to work, I would ignore that because my component already has that information. I'll copy the rest all code that I have here, copy it, go back to your VS Code, and since it is a HTML that I've copied, where did I get this code from? From which file? I've copied it from narrow.html. It is a HTML file where I've copied these changes. Since it is a UI changes, we have to go to the HTML file and paste them there. So under the HTML file, I'll just paste that code that I've copied. Now, does this component become my component or it's a copy paste component? It is a copy paste component at this point of time because I do not own this component yet because it has some references that I've copied. Now, how do I change them? Simply modify the changes that are being displayed. If you remember, this hello is coming at the top. So in case if I want to change the title, I just need to replace this hello with the name that I wanted to give to my component. Since it's my first component, what I'll do, I'll say first LWC component is what I'll name it. Do I want to change the icon name? I can keep that as it is. Currently it is displaying the account icon. In case if you want to change it to a contact or anything, feel free to do it. I'll just change it to contact just to show you that we can modify these values. The next static information that I have is this one. Where is this card body narrow custom component is coming from? If I go back to the preview and look for that, where is this coming from? Right, so this information that I have written here is basically coming here. So if I modify this section, it would be reflected here. So that is what I want. I'll go back to my VS Code. Since I have some text already written which talks about the first component that we have deployed, I'll just replace this information there. You can write anything. I'm just making use of the changes that we have done for our first component and updating this lightning card. Last but not the least, we have card footer. So this whatever that I write in this p tag is updated here. Anything that you want to change has to be updated here. So I'll go back to the VS Code with that understanding. I'll say my first footer. So we have done with those changes. If you see here, there is a button that I have. There is a lightning button code that is there. Do I want to add any buttons at this point of time? The answer is no. So I'll go ahead and remove this code entirely because I do not need it. In case if you need it, you can go ahead and use it. For time being, I do not have any requirement of adding a button yet. So I'll save these changes. How do I deploy? Go to the component, select the component, click on deploy source to the org. Our deployment is successful. Let's switch to our Salesforce org. Do a hard refresh to get the latest changes. You are able to get the similar look and feel just like how this milestone component is looking like. We have added the title. So this value is coming from our title. This is coming from the icon name that we have selected. It is showing us the contact icon here. In case if you want to change it to case, you can go ahead and do that as well. So this is the body. Whatever that I've written in that body of that p tag is coming up here. And this is coming from my footer p tag. In case if you want to design an LWC component which has a title and a section where you can add changes and finally add a footer, that is where you can go ahead and make use of lightning card, which is a base component that is given to us from Salesforce. So that brings us to this end of this video where we had made some changes to our first lightning component that we have already deployed. We have understood how to access the base components that are available to us. We have seen how to implement that and how to customize or change that base component to our requirement and update the changes and see that in action. Currently, in this component, there is no user interaction that is there. The user doesn't have any operation that they can do on this component. In the next section, we'll see how to provide that option to the user where they can interact with this component, and we'll see how we can process that.
Hey guys, if you like this video, do like, share and subscribe to SFDC Quest.